Welcome friends. So we just had our first cold snap of the year. It was 21 degrees overnight. It was 21 degrees this morning. And trying to start this car first thing in the morning, it shows absolutely no interest in starting. It cranks and cranks and cranks, but it doesn't fire. So the first thing I did was try to get some ether, some starting fluid sprayed into it. And that didn't help at all. I sprayed in through the intake here, and then I unsnapped the air filter cover here and tried to spray it in there, and that made no difference. So I'm going to pull this, try pulling this intake here just enough to get some directly in there. Oh, here we go. Let's see if that does anything. Let's take this inside for some more discussion. Okay, that was strange. That's never happened before on this car. I just wanted to show you in a quiet environment what I did. I loosened up this hose clamp and this hose clamp, and then this is an air duct from the air filter housing into the air box that feeds the throttle body. So I loosen this air duct up here and here, and then you can just pull it off of the air box here. It's just held on with the hose clamp. And then, since I was able to move it out of the way, I was able to get the starting fluid in there. Starting fluid is ether. It's highly volatile. It's more volatile than gasoline. And so even at low temperatures, so that's what helps the engine start. It fires off a lot easier than gasoline even. So after I gave it a shot of ether, half a second is all it takes. I just pushed that back together, pushed these back together. I didn't tighten them up, and I went over and it started right up. Then I tightened the two hose clamps again. Now it's important that you don't leave these loose, because this is a mass air sensor, mass airflow coming through the air filter to feed the engine. And if this isn't tight, this sensor is probably going to go a little nuts, because the engine can draw air in through the loose fittings here, and it won't measure all the air going through. So suppose it didn't start with just adding some ether. Okay, there's ether is fuel. So that adds to your air-fuel mixture. An engine needs three things to run. One, it needs air-fuel mixture. Two, ignition or spark. And three, compression. In this case, I'm assuming it has compression because it's normally been a running engine. So I'm checking to make sure it has both fuel and ignition. But you also need spark. So if it didn't start, I would start to question if I had spark. it's kind of normal to pull a spark plug boot off a spark plug and hold it near ground, and then you can see if it's jumping spark there. But I realized these Subaru spark plug boots are like this long. They go way down in there and they fit tight and they're hard to get to. So I was like, that's going to be too much of a pain. So how can I tell if I've got spark? Well, I realized that if there's a spark going through an ignition wire, spark plug wire, then an inductive timing light will be able to pick it up. So this is just an inductive pickup. You clamp it onto the spark plug wire, and it doesn't matter which one for this scenario. I just need to see if there's a spark. I'm not doing a timing adjustment. And then I'll reach over here and hook the positive and negative to the battery. This is the power for the timing light. Then I'll go ahead and start it up, and this is a Craftsman inductive timing light. Pull the trigger on the timing light and I should see it strobing. This is a strobe light. If it's not strobing, then I don't have a spark jumping through that cable. So I'm going to open the door and test that out. So right now I have the trigger pulled and it's not flashing, but as soon as I turn it over it should flash. You should see the light strobe even if the engine doesn't fire. That's what makes this a useful troubleshooting technique. You can see the strobe light on different surfaces. Or by just looking at it, but I can't recommend that. The camera frame rate isn't synchronized with the strobe rate, so it only sees the flashes sporadically, but I saw it was continuously strobing. So with that, I could easily confirm that I have spark. The strobe on the timing light fires every time there's a spark shooting through that cable, that ignition cable. Now if that didn't work and I discovered I don't have spark, that could send me in the direction of looking for an ignition system problem, which I'm not going to get into now, but that I'm just showing you how to confirm you either have spark or not, or you have fuel or not. If you don't have fuel, you shoot a little ether into it, it'll fire as long as you have spark. And if you don't have spark, it'll never fire. And that's what I had. The thing was not firing at all. It would crank and crank and crank, and it wouldn't even attempt to fire. So this was an odd problem for this car. It's never happened before. I think to help it out going forward, you know, the winter's coming. This was our first cold snap. I'm going to put some dry gas in the tank just to make sure there wasn't any water in the fuel or anything like that. And then this stuff might actually help to clean the injectors. Helps keep fuel system clean, safe for oxygen sensors, safe for fuel injectors and catalytic converters. And then I'm going to get some fuel injector cleaner, the type that you put in the gas tank, and just put that in there, help clean the injectors. Maybe that'll help. And then I'll go from there. Hopefully the car will be parked inside the garage where it was actually 20 degrees warmer, and this won't happen again. So I decided to go ahead and give the battery a little bit of a charge. It's perfectly fine. It already restarted the car a couple times, but we cranked it a lot before I came out with the starting fluid. So I'm just going to get it up to snuff. This is my grandfather's old battery charger, Sears Allstate, 6 or 12 amps, 6 amp full wave DC output. That's amazing. They don't make them full wave anymore. So, red to positive, black to negative, and plug it in. It has this nice little amp meter on it, DC amps. It went up to almost 5 amps. So I'll leave this on here until it's below 2 amps. When the battery stops accepting more than 2 amps, it's probably got a pretty good charge. If it gets down to 1 amp, that'd be even better. So I'll leave it here for a couple hours. Okay, I hope this helps. Thanks for watching.